Over the years, there's been a lot of discussion about the Chris Judd Josh Kennedy trade, with supporters from both clubs claiming their team won the trade. So we thought, let's settle this debate once and for all. Now, there is no doubt that both Chris Judd and Josh Kennedy were wonderful servants of their clubs who provided years of joy and entertainment for their supporters, and this video is by no means an attempt at telling you who is the better player at the end of their career, but would be interested to hear your thoughts in the comments below. In this video, we'll go through all the details of the trade, and based on our calculations and weighting system, we'll let you know who can finally claim the bragging rights based on who we think have won this trade and why. Speaking of calculation methods, let's take a look at how we at the Witches Hats work out which team wins each trade. Okay, so the idea was to come up with a formula where we could judge the winner of each individual trade made over the years. To do so, we had to come up with a numerical figure to represent each important statistic, award, or honour each player may receive. Here's what we've come up with, and obviously the weightings we have used are subjective. You will have your own opinions on the figures we have used, but we had to go with something, so this is what we've chosen. 1 point per AFL game played, meaning if you played 300 games, you'd get 300 points. That is the same for Brownlow votes, 1 point per Brownlow vote. 25 points if you win a best and fairest, premiership, or a Norm Smith medal. 50 points, you make the All Australian team or win the AFLPA MVP, Rising Star Award, or the Coleman Medal. 100 points if you win the Brownlow Medal. Not that we want to spend too much time on the reasons for our weightings, because as we've said, they're subjective anyway, but we've decided that any AFL wide award, i.e., any award that every player in the AFL was eligible for, would be worth 50 points, e.g., the All Australian team. Whilst those awards that were at club level, e.g. a best and fairest, were worth 25 points, with the Brownlow being worth 100 points as it is the pinnacle award of our competition. Now, not every player is eligible for the Rising Star each year, but at some point each player was, hence why that is still worth 50 points. And don't come at me saying there's mature age recruits because we have to draw the line somewhere. Whilst we're focusing on trades, if a trade was made for a draft pick, the player that was selected with that pick will be used in the calculation. Making sense? Don't stress, we have pictures for all the visual learners out there. Okay, so let's look at an example. In 1998, West Coast traded the current interim coach of West Coast, Jared Schofield, to the Power in exchange for Scott Cummings. Let's look at how that trade turned out. Following this trade, Schofield played 131 games for Port Adelaide, whilst Cummings only played 46 over his 3 year stint at the Eagles. Schofield was awarded 37 Brownlow votes compared to Cummings, who only received 15. Neither player won a best and fairest at their respective clubs, but Schofield did win a premiership, so he gets 25 points for that. Neither player won a Norm Smith, received All Australian honours. They didn't win an AFLPA MVP or a Rising Star. However, Cummins did win a Coleman, kicking 95 goals in 1999, so he gets 50 points for that. And finally, neither player won a Brownlow, as we know. So when we tally up the points, we can see that Jared Schofield scored 193 compared to Scott Cummings, who only scored 111, meaning that Port Adelaide won this trade by 82 points. It is important to note that we only ever compare statistics, awards, and honours that a player has won for the club he was traded to. In this example, Scott Cummings went on to play a further 5 games for Collingwood, whilst Jared Schofield would finish his career playing 12 games for Fremantle. These games were not taken into account because they weren't played in the clubs involved in this trade. This way, we can get a pure reflection of who won each specific trade. So now that you know how we come up with our calculations, let's finally settle this Judd versus Kennedy debate. After being drafted by West Coast at pick 3 in 2001, Chris Judd played 279 games, kicking 228 goals for both the Eagles and Carlton. Widely regarded as one of the best footballers in the modern game, Judd twice won the league's highest individual honour, the Brownlow Medal, and was a dual Lee Matthews Trophy winner as the AFL Players Association Most Valuable Player. He was also a Premiership captain, having captained the West Coast Eagles to the 2006 AFL Premiership. Consistently recognised as one of the game's premier midfielders, Judd was selected in the All Australian team 6 times, including as a captain in 2008. At representative level, he played for Australia in the 2002 International Rules Series and for Victoria in the AFL Hall of Fame tribute match in 2008. At his time at West Coast, Judd captained the club for 2 seasons and won 2 club champion awards. After returning to Melbourne to captain the Carlton Football Club, Judd won the John Nichols medals as the club's best and fairest 3 times and became a fourth player in AFL history to win a Brownlow medal at more than one club. In August 2021, Judd was elevated into the AFL Hall of Fame. Josh Kennedy was drafted by Carlton at pick 4 in 2005, where he played 22 games, kicking 11 goals before being traded to West Coast. Kennedy soon established himself as West Coast's leading key forward. He led the club in goal kicking 6 times, first in 2011, then in 5 consecutive seasons from 2013 onwards. In 2014, he briefly served as acting co-captain following the retirement of Darren Glass. Kennedy won consecutive Coleman medals in 2015 and 16 as the league's leading goal kicker and was runner-up in 2017. He was also named in the All-Australian team in each of those years. In 2022, Kennedy kicked his 700th goal, becoming the first Eagles player to reach the milestone. So, let's take a look at this trade. Chris Judd played 145 games for Carlton, earning 116 Brownlow votes. He won 3 Best and Fairest, earning him 75 points. He didn't win a premiership or a non-Smith medal at the Blues, but he did win All-Australian honours 4 times and the AFL MVP in 2011. Chris Judd didn't win a Rising Star or a Coleman medal at the Blues, but did take out his second Brownlow in 2010. After punching in all these numbers, we can see that Chris Judd's total points equals 686. Moving over to Josh Kennedy, he played 271 games for West Coast, earning 90 Brownlow votes. He didn't win a Best and Fairest, but he did win the 2018 Premiership. Kennedy won All Australian honours 3 times, earning him 150 points. He didn't win an AFLPA MVP or a Rising Star, but did win the Coleman medal twice, earning him a further 100 points. He did not win the Brownlow, so there is no score there. So, following that, we can see Josh Kennedy's score is 636. So there you have it, Blues fans. Carlton won this trade. Or did they? Yes, Chris Judd earned more points at Carlton than Josh Kennedy did at the Eagles, but we are looking at the whole trade, not just comparing these two players. A lot of people may not realise or remember that this trade involved 3 other players apart from Chris Judd and Kennedy, including a couple of pretty good footballers which do impact the trade, but the question is, by how much and at whose advantage? So, let's start with the West Coast side of things. Along with Josh Kennedy, West Coast also received pick 3 and pick 20 in the 2007 National Draft. At pick 3, West Coast selected Chris Maston, who went on to play 215 games for the Eagles, earning 25 Brownlow votes. His other score in our table is 25 points for being part of the 2018 Premiership side, bringing his total score to 265. At pick 20, West Coast drafted Tony Knott, who only played 2 games without scoring any other points apart from those games. If we add the scores up from Kennedy, Maston, and Knott, we come up with a score of 903 for the West Coast Eagles side of the trade. This means that Carlton need to score 218 points to win this trade, with any additional players included on their side of the ledger if there is one. And there is one. A player drafted by Carlton at pick 46 in the 2007 National Draft, a player by the name of Dennis Armfield. Dennis Armfield played 145 games with Carlton and became a bit of a cult figure at the Blues with his energetic style and was rewarded with an inclusion into the Carlton leadership group in 2017. So, if we add Armfield's 145 games into the table, Carlton only needs 72 more points, but unfortunately for the Blue Baggers, he didn't score any further points, leaving Carlton at a total of 831, 72 points behind the West Coast Eagles. So, there you have it. Based on our calculations, West Coast won the Chris Judd Josh Kennedy trade, assisted greatly by the additional players the Eagles were able to bring in with the draft picks they acquired in the trade. In saying that, we are pretty sure both clubs are happy with the trade, with most players involved going on to play large roles at their new club. So, what do you think? Do you agree with the results, disagree, or do you have any thoughts on this trade that we haven't covered? Or is there any specific trade you want us to look at next? Let us know in the comments down below. If you like this sort of content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for similar content in the near future. Thanks for watching, see you all soon.